the presentation now.
Thank you, Martina. I'll start sharing my screen. Can you see my screen or not yet?
Not yet.
Mm-hmm. Sorry.
Okay, we can see it now.
Okay. So, sorry, it seems to take time. Sorry.
That's okay.
Okay, can you see it now?
Yes.
Okay, so thank you very much, Martina. Good afternoon, everyone. I start by expressing my immense gratitude. I'm sorry. Sorry. So I start by expressing my immense gratitude to my friend Maria for the numerous opportunities she has given me, as well as my department, my colleagues and my students to take part in the projects and events of Constantine the Philosopher University in Nitra, Slovakia. She has given us this opportunity of virtual exchange, internationalization at home, and I am confident that in the future, our collaboration will even be more fruitful. So in my paper, I'm going to talk about a digital storytelling workshop conducted at Annaba University using Microsoft Photo Stories software to allow my students to integrate text, images, and sounds in their digital stories. I strongly believe that human beings have visceral ties with the time-honored practice of storytelling, which, albeit less visible in the age of new media, remains a major constituent of human relations. Man, anthropologists argue, has always been a homo narrans, whose need for narration led to the invention of language. Scottish philosopher Alistair MacIntyre believes that man is in his actions as well as in his fictions, essentially a storytelling animal. Today, with the development of technologies, the concept of digital storytelling designates the integration of new media, including visual arts, into the ancestral practice of storytelling. I'll start my paper with a reference to the educational relevance of digital storytelling. First, it is defined as, quote, the modern expression of the ancient art of storytelling. Digital stories derive their power through weaving images, music, narrative, and voice together, thereby giving deep dimension and vivid color to characters, situations, and insights. I argue that this practice not only activates all levels of cognitive skills in Bloom's taxonomy, written in 1956 and revised in 2001, but especially the highest ones. So in a task like the one I'm going to describe, students are going to use all these skills from the lowest ones to the highest ones. They will remember, they will understand, they will apply, analyze, evaluate, and eventually create, which is the highest order skill. So by remembering, they are going to retrieve relevant knowledge from long-term memory. They are going to use verb like recognize, recall. By understanding, they are going to determine the meaning of instructional messages, including oral, written, graphic communication, using verbs like interpreting, exemplifying, classifying, summarizing, etc. They are going to apply their knowledge, carrying out or using a procedure in a given situation, using verbs like executing, implementing. While designing their digital stories, they are also going to analyze, breaking materials into constituent parts, sounds, texts, images, etc. They are going to and finally, they are going to create, put in digital story. This taxonomy remains relevant sciences despite its age. And therefore, I find it useful in this digital storytelling workshop because in order to create a digital story, students many the first one is the factual dimension, which requires learners to activate my hesitant language because I'm so the factual dimension requires learners to activate facts before doing the activating conceptual dimensions of knowledge, like considering items in a system of interrelationships, how things work before doing them in another. The task will require a procedural dimension of knowledge. For example, students will need to do things in a new manner that they never did before, and they also activate the metacognitive dimension, which is often missing in our educational systems, which is asking students to reflect on their own learning in order to be aware of their abilities and strategies. In addition to being an excellent tool for the conservation of oral literature, digital of multimodal literacy in a classroom of digital who have grown up presence of the image, the sound in parallel to the, and for whom the sole focus on the text is quite boring. So in a digital storytelling experience, students are going to use the visual aspects of learning because they are going to use pictures. They are going to rely on the oral aspect because they are going to choose sounds. They are going to record their own voice. They are going to learn through play because it is a very playful activity. They are going to solve problems because they are going to create something they have for. There is also a kinesthetic aspect because there is a lot of movement in the action. And finally, they are going to use technology. Thousands of years ago, Confucius said that I hear and I forget, I see and I remember, I do and I understand. And this quote is, of course, still relevant. There is another quote, probably by Einstein, the author is not certain, which says, a picture is worth 1,000 words. This is even more true in our age. With the use of multimodality in education, information becomes emotionally engaging in a deep learning and edutainment, which means education and then process. There's also an advantage of inclusive education while using digital storytelling in a classroom. In her article entitled Digital Storytelling as a Signal Pedagogy for the New Humanities, Rina Benamir is Rina Ben Mayer argues that tool for students who live in disadvantaged ethnic minorities within developed countries or live in developing countries. The teacher can help learners bring their personal experience and cultural knowledge to transform their thinking and empower themselves. The multiple tools used, like texts, images, and sounds, and especially the narration, encourage learners from marginalized groups to give voice to their identity and history, often silenced by the dominant discourse. This task can reinforce skills needed for the 21st century, tolerance and global citizenship, as well as contribute to the achievement of sustainable development goals through the wisdom of storytelling, especially if the themes of poverty, food, climate change, etc. are treated in the digital stories. Now I'm going to talk about a creative writing workshop conducted at Annaba University. So being interested in storytelling in general and digital storytelling in particular, I can experiment 3 years ago. I asked a group of students to participate in a workshop on the creation of inspired from our local. From the outset, I observed a strong motivation among students who who agreed to participate in the experiment on a voluntary basis. It was not part of, and they did not have official credit for it in terms of marks, for instance. While cultural preservation, the other objectives were the acquisition of multimodal and digital literacies. I asked students to create their own digital stories on Microsoft Photo Story software. You see on the right top corner of the screen the logo of the software. They integrated stories. I started teaching them how to use the software, how to record their narration, how to select sounds and images, and other technical aspects which I will briefly illustrate at the end of this presentation. I followed the students remotely via Facebook to help them manage the creation of their stories. I encouraged them to collaborate with their peers. At the end of the allocated time, I organized a focus group to listen to their return. I was amazed about motivated they had been and remained throughout the experience. They said they couldn't count the hours they spent trying to find the most suitable pictures, while also respecting copyright regulations. What's more, they couldn't count the hours they spent recording their narration again and again, admitting that this experiment helped them analyze the intonation in addition to many other skills. A student called Amira said, "Immersive is the possibility of presenting the tale in a modern and innovative way while keeping its distinctive traditional flavor." Manel said, "I found that this project about digital storytelling is very interesting, motivating, and original, especially the idea of safeguarding our cultural heritage. Moreover, this work allows participants to add their personal touch and be creative." The capital student was so happy by being given the opportunity to be creative. To evaluate the digital stories created by my students, I used the 7 elements of digital storytelling evaluation proposed by the Center for Digital Storytelling, modified by and Pearson. So I tried to evaluate the overall purpose of the story created by my students. I evaluated the narrator's point of view, the dramatic question or questions, the choice of content, the clarity of voice, the pacing of the narrative, the use of meaningful soundtrack, the quality of images, the economy of story detail, as well as the use of grammar and language. At the end of the experiment and through the focus group organized with students, I didn't note any difficulties related to the choice of stories, the use of the photo story software, and the choice of music. But I noted many difficulties related to the recording of narration as well as the choice of images. Some sound recordings were time-consuming and of mediocre quality. Some others, produced by more tech-savvy students, had an excellent quality because they relied on acoustic treatment software. The easiest just to record the narration on the phone rather than directly on the computer. The choice of images was particularly time-consuming. Students estimated that the creation of the story itself required between 2 to 4 hours, while it was impossible for them to count the number of hours they spent looking for images that were suitable for the local heritage. In addition to being open, that is to say, pictures need to be free and they any copyright infringement. For instance, a student regretted that she had been obliged to illustrate her Algerian folktale with a picture of Cinderella because no one found, because she couldn't find because she couldn't find a picture that fits her purpose online. Another student raised an important question, which he could, when he could not find a suitable picture for his characters in a given, he could draw it himself. But the problem is, in every scene, he would need to draw it again and again because the characters would change gestures and etc. So the experience interesting, very illuminating, but it would be time consuming if students want to do it in the best possible manner. Whatever the difficulties they faced, the students were extremely satisfied with the experience. They enumerated many benefits. Was optimized by perceiving the connection, especially the emotional one, between present learning and prior knowledge. Their motivation was boosted by the freedom to. They acquired the new digital skills. Digital storytelling as a bridge between tradition and modernity. Even though short, 1 month, enhanced some of the students' 21st century skills, including the 4 C's, creativity, critical thinking, and communication. So in the next slides, I wanted to demonstration on software, but unfortunately, I'm using a Chromebook. And the software is a Microsoft one, so it doesn't work on this computer. This is to emphasize that depending on the fact that you have Windows or Apple or Chrome operated device, you are going to find very interesting alternatives to this photo story software. So the practice is very easy. I have taken some screens. It takes a few minutes to do it on a computer if the pictures are ready, if the sounds are ready. So in the first screenshot, you see the first appearance of the software on your computer. You just need to click on begin a new story. Then you click on next. The use is intuitive. The software is user-friendly. You just follow your instinct. So you click on begin a new story, then next. When you click on next, you're going to find this import pictures. When you click on import pictures, then on next, you are going to have access to all the pictures on your computer. You choose all of them. You are supposed to be organized and prepare the pictures beforehand. When you click on next, all the pictures you need will appear on your software in order like that. You will click on next again, and you can write a comment. Sorry. You can write a comment here or a title for every slide. When you click on next, record your voice. I think this will be the most difficult task, because when we record ourselves, we are usually tempted to repeat it again and again because we don't like our voice. We are probably shy, and when we are shy, our voice is hesitant. When I use the software for a long time, then I click on next. I will try to select a piece of music that fits the purpose of my story. If the story is about a folk tale, in my case, for example, I should select traditional music. In the example I am showing you, the pictures were about nature, so I have selected an instrumental music from Ireland, for example. This is just an example. When I click on next, I will find the possibility to save the video on my computer, which means that. So I'm just going to choose where I want to store my video on the computer. I have selected a place, and then next. The video is being recorded, and in a few seconds it will be ready. So here's the video ready to be viewed. And that's all. Thank you very much for your attention.
Okay, thank you very much for your presentation. If anybody has questions, you can ask now. Yeah, I see Rasim raising hand.
Sorry. Hello, Professor. Thank you for this interesting topic. I really like the idea of enhancing students' skills simultaneously and with a very modern method or technique. So my question is, do you believe that the age of the participant or the learner can be an element that limits the creativity of this experience?
Okay, so in the experience I have conducted, there are two answers to your question. The first topic itself, which is the folk tales, and then the digital tools. So in both cases, even if these things seem to be more popular among children, research has shown that even adults love stories. So I conducted this experience with the students who are about 20 to 20 years old, and you can imagine the motivation folk tales. So the impression that folk tales are just for children is wrong. I personally love working with the folk tales, even if I'm not a child. So dealing with folk tales is valid for all ages. The second aspect of the question is using digital tools. Even if children seem to be more playful and more curious, even adults love playing. So this is why gamification has become a very important aspect of pedagogy today. So for me, there is no limit for these activities. You can use them with children from preschool to university professors. And then even companies, if you want to know more about digital storytelling, you will find that it has become a very important tool in marketing in big companies.
Folk tales are not just for children, and we adults use folk tales as an element or a method to teach values, good values to children. And we learn folk tales from adults, of course. So yes, thank you so much. Yes.
More than learning moral lessons, there is something psychological operating when we are watching or dealing with folk tales. I don't know, it needs a psychoanalysis. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Yes, can I also add, it's a very interesting topic, and what I am reminded of that with digital storytelling, it reminds me of books that we used to have as kids, pop-up books where the images pop out from the book, like three-dimensional images. It seems like it, without the narrative, of course. Do you think there is it's specifically made for kids, or even adults can enjoy them?
Yes, that's a good comparison. In fact, yes, these books you were talking about are kind of 3D books, yeah. And this digital storytelling is, of course, more lively because it introduced technology and so on. And as I said to Rasim, this is for all ages. Digital storytelling is not for kids. As I told you, I did it with master's students at the university, and it was a very, very amazing experience. They enjoyed it very much.
Okay, we have questions.
Yeah, we actually want to thank Fella for sharing her own experience with using digital storytelling. I myself plan to start using it this year because the experience and the results that she's been talking about are quite impressive, and I think that it's a tool that should be used on let's say on a wider range, so that more students will be able to use this application and to try more to move from the visual understanding to the verbal understanding, to the writing understanding. So they will work on their different skills. So thank you so much,
yes,
Fella, for sharing this creative writing activity.
And I like also that this method would also enhance the students' understanding of using literary techniques like narrative.
Exactly.
They would understand more the techniques that we use, that writers use in creating a story. Because they would be themselves creators, so
they learn by experience. This is called the experiential learning. So it's really interesting and fun at the same time. So yes. Thank you.
That's true, Rahel. This morning when I was rehearsing for this presentation, I was thinking about the Students' Club, and I thought that this would be a very interesting activity. We need to enlarge it for a wider audience.
Did you?
Sorry, indeed. It came late.
Miriam, you want to ask something more?
Yeah, I don't have one more question.
She said, yeah.
May I? Or you have another question, Miriam?
It's okay, we're done. Yes, it's fine.
Okay, thank you. Fella, thank you for this lovely presentation. I take new things as something that we can also learn from. Would you have some recommendations for us? Maybe what would you do differently if you did this for the second time?
Yeah, if I had to do it a second time, and I'm going to do it, as I said, I would give more time to my students, because in the first time I gave them just 1 month. So they struggled with the choice of images and the recordings, as I said. So if we do this over 2 or 3 months, and also provide some kind of positive reinforcement, because they would do it, I mean, because it requires a lot of time. We need to give them marks at least, you know, because this is a very time-consuming activity. So I would teach them how to use sound treatment software, because that was the biggest problem. The pictures were, the quality of the video was excellent, but the narration was not. So we would use audio treatment devices or software. I would give them time to draw, as I said, because it's difficult to find appropriate images for your purpose. There are plenty of royalty-free pictures, I mean, that we can use without copyright issues, but they don't always reflect the local culture, especially in the case of folk tales. So we can ask gifted students to draw different scenes, and the videos will be really excellent.
Thank you. Thank you.
And didn't you want to try to film it as a video instead of using this program with pictures?
The outcome is a video, in fact. I didn't display them because they belong to my students and I don't have them here. But once you finish this using this Microsoft Photo Story, there is a video automatically recorded on your computer.
Yes, I understand, but my idea was that if the students didn't want to make it like a dramatization and record themselves on video on their phones or cameras, like prepare it like a drama play, as if in theater, or creating a normal film.
Yeah, maybe if we had to repeat this experience, we wouldn't only rely on drawings and sketches, but real human, I mean, if students are willing, of course, to act, we would make movies, yes. But usually when we speak about digital storytelling, it's pictures usually. Because if you use real human beings moving and talking, it becomes like movie making, not really digital storytelling.
Rasim has another question.
I think you just answered my question. Do you think, or do you believe that this experience can open other doors to other artistic dimensions, like in screenwriting or movie making? So does it help in creating new skills?
Sure, it does. You just need to Google it, write the digital storytelling in the world, and you'll see how many artistic activities and festivals and even commercial events, etc., are being very important trend in business, in education, in everything.
Thank you.
Okay, so it looks like there are no more questions. We have a question from our students here, okay? So this kind of outcome that goes from those students, we have those videos, and is there some way to reuse them or to somehow share them, or to use them for another purpose, or to do something with them so that it's not going to stop in like just evaluating them? Okay, could you hear where, or should I repeat it?
It's clear, I understand. Yes, that's a very good point. In fact, my original aim was to create digital stories to rehabilitate or give voice to our folk tales, because as you know, folk tales are in a danger of extermination, extinction, because oral heritage is transmitted from one generation to another. And since grandparents are no longer telling stories to their grandsons as in the past, there is a danger of extinction. So the aim of digital storytelling is to preserve orality. So that was the aim. But unfortunately, because the sound recordings were not good and we didn't find the pictures that we wanted, students didn't want to share them on YouTube. The aim was to share them on YouTube and preserve them. Okay, so if we would repeat this experiment, as I said, we give it more time. The aim would be to create a website, a Facebook page, a YouTube channel, in order to preserve cultural heritage, of course.
For now, you can maybe use it in teaching in your other classes.
Sure, yeah, we can use it mainly in the reading and writing modules, oral expression modules, literature modules, and in some universities you even have creative writing workshops. As I was telling Rahil, in different universities we have students' clubs, so it would be an excellent activity for students' clubs.
Any more questions? Okay, looks like that's all. So thank you very much for your presentation and for the lovely discussion.
Thank you.